Dear children, today's chapter is The Midnight Visitor and it is written by Robert Arthur. This chapter is about a secret agent Osibel who does not look like one at all but shows great presence of mind to outwit another secret agent, Max, and saved himself from a very dangerous situation. Sociable did not fit any description of a secret agent Fowler had ever read. Fowler, a young romantic writer. Following him down the musty corridor, musty means smelling of mold or fungus, corridor of the gloomy French hotel, gloomy, cheerless French hotel where Osibel had a room, Fowler felt let down. Let down means disappointed. Uh, it was a small room on the sixth and top floor and scarcely a setting for a romantic adventure. Osibel was, for one thing, fat, very fat, and then there was uh, his accent. Though he spoke French and German possibly means uh, just well enough to be understood. He had never altogether lost the American accent he had brought to Paris from Boston 20 years ago. You are disappointed, Osibel said visibly over his shoulder. You were told that I was a secret agent, a spy dealing in espionage, means spying and danger. You wish to meet me because you are a writer, young and romantic. You envision means imagined, mysterious figures in the night, the crack of pistols, drugs in the wine. Instead, you have spent a dull evening in a French musical hall with sloppy fat men. Sloppy means carelessly dressed, who instead of having message slipped into his hand by dark-eyed beauties gets only a prosaic means routine telephone call making an appointment in his room. You have been bored, the fat man chuckled to himself as he unlocked the door of his room and stood aside to let his frustrated guest enter. So Fowler felt that Osibel did not look like a secret agent at all. He was following Osibel to his room through a smelly and a bit scary corridor. His room was on the top floor, which was the sixth floor of the hotel. Osibel was a very fat man and his accent was American. Although he had been living in Paris for the last 20 years and could speak a bit of French and German. Then Osibel tells Fowler that although he was told that he was going to meet a secret agent, a spy agent who had been dealing with danger, crime scenes, and drugs, but Fowler was disappointed. He had to spend the evening in a musical hall with an old, poorly dressed, extremely fat man who used traditional methods for making the information travel rather than beauties delivering to him. Then he exclaimed that Fowler was bored with him as soon as he opened the door of his room. Osibel gave way to Fowler. You are disillusioned, Osibel told him, but take cheer, my young friend. Presently you will see a paper, quite important paper, for which several men and women have risked their lives, come to me. Someday soon, that paper may well affect the course of history, and that thought is drama. Is there not? As he spoke, Osable closed the door behind, and then he switched on the light. And as the light came on, Fowler had his first authentic thrill. Authentic thrill means real feeling of excitement of the day. For halfway across the room, a small automatic pistol in his hand stood a man. Osable blinked a few times. Max, he wheezed, you gave me quite a start. Start here is shock. I thought you were in Berlin. What are you doing here in my room? Max was a slender means thin, a little less than tall, with features that suggested slightly crafty, pointed countenance of a fox. There was about him, aside from the gun, nothing specially menacing. Menacing means dangerous. The report, he murmured, the report that is being brought to you tonight concerning some new missiles. I thought I would take it from you. It will be safer in my hands than in yours. So then Osable told Fowler that he had been thinking all wrong and the best part was yet to come, as they would soon be coming across a paper for which a lot of people, a lot of men and women had risked their lives, and that report was very important. After saying this, Osable closed the door behind him and turned on the light. As soon as the light was turned on, Fowler experienced his first thrill of visiting a secret agent as he saw a man with an automatic pistol standing across the room. Osable recognized the man as Max and asked him what he was doing in his room when he was supposed to be in Berlin. Max was a thin, a bit of short, and his face looked a bit like that of a fox. He seemed harmless except the gun he was holding. Max said that he wanted the report about the missiles for which Osable had been waiting, as he thought that he would be able to keep it more safely. Osable moved to an armchair and sat down heavily. I am going to raise the devil with the management this time. And you can bet on it, he said grimly. Grimly here is seriously. This is the second time in a month that somebody has got into my room through that nuisance of a balcony. Fowler's eyes went to the single window of the room. It was an ordinary window against which now the night was pressing blackly. Balcony? Max said, with rising inflection. No, a passkey. I did not know about the balcony. It might have saved me some trouble had I known. It is not my balcony, Osable said with extreme irritation. It belongs to the next apartment. He glanced explanatory at Flower. Glanced means looked. You see, he said this room used to be a part of a large unit, and the next room through that door there used to be the living room. It had the balcony which extends under my window now. You can get on to it from the empty room two doors down. And somebody did last month. The management promised me to block it off, but they haven't. Max glanced at Fowler, who was standing stiffly not far from Osable, and waved the gun with a commanding gesture. Please sit down, he said. We have a wait of half an hour, I think. 31 minutes, Osable said moodily. The appointment was for 12:30. I wish I knew how you learned about the report. Max, the little spy, smiled evilly, and we wish we knew how your people got the report. But no harm has been done. I will get it back tonight. What is that? Who is at the door? Fowler jumped at the sudden knocking at the door. Osable just smiled. That will be the police, he said. I thought that such an important paper as the one we are waiting for should have a little extra protection. I told them to check on me to make sure everything was all right. Max bit his lip nervously. The knocking was repeated. What will you do now, Max? Osable asked. If I do not answer the door, they will enter anyway. The door is unlocked, and they will not hesitate to shoot. Max's face was black with anger as he backed swiftly towards the window. He swung his leg over the sill. Send them away, he warned. I will wait on the balcony. Send them away, or I'll shoot and take my chances. The knocking at the door became louder, and a voice was raised. Mr. Osable, Mr. Osable. So Osable sat down on the chair and started speaking that he would definitely raise the issue with management of the hotel, as this was the second time that somebody had climbed up from the balcony of the room. Then Fowler looked towards the window and saw it was an ordinary window, that it was pretty much dark outside. Max said that he came with the help of a master key and did not know about the balcony. He said that had he known about it, his work would have become much easier. Osable continued that it was not his balcony through which people had tried coming in, but was of the next apartment. Then he started explaining things to Fowler, that his room used to be a part of a large unit, and the room next to his room used to be a living room. Then he said that the balcony that came till the window of his room, and said that to climb up to his room one needed to go to the empty room which was two rooms away from his room and climb up the balcony. Then he said that somebody did climb up the balcony last month as well. And when he told the management about that, management had promised that they would surely get it blocked, but they still hadn't done so. Max looks at Fowler, who was standing near Ossible, and Max asked Fowler to sit down as there was still half an hour for the report to reach Ossible. Ossible joked that it was not 30 minutes but 31 minutes that were left for the report to reach them. The report was supposed to come in around 12:30 at night. Ossible said that he wished he had known how Max had come to know about the report coming in. And then Max also smiled wickedly and said that he also wished to know how Ossible and his team managed to get the report. He added that nothing had happened to the report because he would take it from Ossible straight to his team. Then suddenly a knock is heard on the door and Max panics. Fowler is also scared by the knock on the door. Ossible replied to Max's question about who was on the door and said that it must be police because he had asked them to check on him after some time, as he thought that the report he was about to receive was important and definitely required extra attention. He had asked the police to check him after every some time to ensure that everything was all right. Max became nervous about the situation as knocking continued, and Ossible asked him what would he do next. Ossible added that the door was unlocked, and if he did not let him open the door, the police would enter anyway and would definitely shoot if they saw him with a gun. Max was angered by the situation and ran quickly. The knocking on the door grew louder, and someone from outside called, "Mr. Ossible, Mr. Ossible." Now, keeping his body twisted so that his gun still covered the fat man and his guest, the man at the window grasped the frame with his free hand to support himself. Then he swung his other leg up and over the windowsill. The doorknob turned swiftly. Max pushed with his left hand to free himself from the sill and dropped to the balcony. And then, as he dropped, he screamed once shrilly. The door opened. Shrilly here means in a high pitch, loudly. The door opened and the waiter stood there with a tray, a bottle, and 2 glasses. "Here is the drink you ordered for when you returned," he said, and set the tray on the table, deftly uncorked the bottle with the room. Deftly means neatly and skillfully. White-faced Fowler stared at him, but he stammered, "The police?" "There was no police," Ossible sighed. "Only Henry, whom I was expecting." But wasn't that man on the balcony? Fowler again? No, said Osable. He won't return. You see, my young friend, there is no balcony. So Max was sitting on the windowsill and he was facing inside so that the gun could still be pointed towards Osable and Fowler. Max then held the windowsill and sat at the sill with both legs outside. The doorknob turned, and Max thought that the police would be coming in, so he jumped from the sill to fall on the balcony. And when he fell, a loud, shrill scream was heard. When the door was opened, the waiter stood at the door with a tray, a bottle of wine, and 2 glasses. He came in, kept everything on the table, and said that it was the bottle that Osable had ordered for. He opened the cork of the bottle skillfully and left. Fowler did not understand what had happened, and he stammered that where was the police? To which Osable replied that there was no police, and that he knew that it was Henry the waiter and he was expecting him only. Then Osable asked about the man outside the window, to which Osable replied that he would never come back as there was no balcony and Max had fallen on the ground from the top floor of the building. So the story of balcony was created by Osable, and in this way he saved himself. So that is all about the chapter. Thank you.